did you realize your daughter was gonna go to jail? When I rushed into the ER carrying my bleeding grandbaby, I came home from the most important presentation of my career to find my 11-month-old granddaughter screaming and kicking on the living room floor all alone, with a large gash on her head from where she had hit the coffee table. And my daughter, the actual mother of the baby who had swore this time she'd stay and watch over her, nowhere to be found. I was shocked, furious, in desperate tears as I scooped her up and called for an ambulance. The nurses took her for a CT scan immediately while I filled out forms with shaking hands. Is she going to be okay? Please tell me she's going to be okay, I begged. Where did this happen? The intake nurse asked coolly. I hesitated. At home. She fell off the couch. Are you the mother of the child? I shook my head. Grandmother. The nurse raised an eyebrow. Where is the mother now? I opened my mouth to speak, but I wasn't even sure how to answer her. I opened up Instagram from my phone and found her post from an hour ago, enjoying a nice smooch with a stranger at a music festival. How long was the baby unsupervised? The doctor asked when he came out. Maybe a few hours. I kept calling my daughter, straight to voicemail every time. The hospital called the police in the meantime. A social worker approached me in the waiting room and called my daughter on her personal phone. This isn't normal for her, I tried to explain. She's young. She's still figuring things out. The social worker just stared at me expressionless. When my daughter picked up, she spoke bluntly. Your baby is in the hospital, and that custody of yours is hanging on a thread. So show up. Bam. End call. The social worker pulled out her tablet. Now, let's talk about what normal looks like. How often do you watch the baby? Well, at first it was just during classes. And now, I bit my lip. More often. She waited. Yes, okay, every night, but I'm her mother, and I'm that baby's grandmother. You gotta understand, when was the last time your daughter spent a full 24 hours with her baby? She interrupted, writing out a long list on her case file. When I couldn't answer, she scribbled even more on her clipboard. Okay, and expenses? How do you guys split it? Formula, diapers, whatever. She pays for some toys, and you cover the rest, right? And her job? I shook my head, frowning. Ma'am, you understand that your daughter is clearly not providing and acting responsibly, correct? Unfortunately, things like this don't end well. For months, I knew that my daughter had been abusing my kindness. It's only temporary, Mom. Let me find a job first, she told me after deciding to raise the child on her own. But soon the babysitting job became more frequent and more unreasonable, leaving her daughter to me just to go party, meet different men, socialize. And now, my daughter arrived 2 hours later, intoxicated and furious. You called the cops on me? I'm your daughter, she slurred. Not one question about the baby, not one glance at the bandage on her tiny head. I finally snapped. She could have died. Look at her, I cried, pointing at my granddaughter hooked up to monitors. Where were you? Where were you when she was bleeding on our floor? She rolled her eyes. Ugh, Mom, stop lecturing me. She's fine. Fine? She has a concussion. Well, you said you'd help me. My job is to be a kid and eventually find her a good father, so I don't see why you're complaining. I mean, you never found me a father. The nurses nearby gasped, even more shocked than I was to hear her say something so below the belt. I'm your mother, and maybe I failed you by being too lenient, but that stops today. She actually laughed. You can't just stop helping me. What are you gonna do, abandon your own grandchild? You're my mom. This is literally your job. I shook my head and nodded at the CPS in the room. No, my job was to care for you, and you seem to be doing fine. Your job was to care for her, and you already failed in the first year. The social worker stepped forward and made it clear that based on all the evidence, my daughter had lost custody due to criminal neglect. Then to my surprise, she turned to me. You have two options. You can take emergency custody, or the baby goes straight into foster care. I knew it would be hard. I had already raised a daughter alone, worked double shifts just to provide rent, took the bus because I couldn't afford both a car and milk for the month. I can do it. My daughter played her last card. If you take my baby, I'll never forgive you. I'll leave you forever. Let you grow old without any child to care for you. Ouch. That one stung, but it was too late. I had made my decision. I was already caring for her like my own child. The only thing this changes is the name on the papers. The social worker smiled and exchanged documents with me. I'll be checking in, she told me before placing my daughter in handcuffs. Mom? Wait, are you serious? Mom, they're arresting me. She screamed out, more and more frantic as they dragged her out. I bit my tongue and looked away, heartbroken and ashamed. Before I could post her bail, my daughter's boyfriend paid for it. So she moved straight into his place and spent every waking hour sending me hurtful messages. But I didn't care. I failed with my daughter. This was my second chance.